such an asshole.
We had a kind donation, and this guy, I don't want to identify him because he's donated, but I believe, no, that was Dennis. No, it was Pete. We have a lot of guys donating money like, hey, if you know someone, toss them these bucks. If you know someone else, toss them these bucks. That's how we got Atham, because he's a pitiful man. His vasectomy, we've helped out some other people. And Anonymous says, I just sent you 235 bucks. 200 is for some kid you are talking to who deserves at your discretion on one-on-one with you. So if I ever get a kid that actually needs the help for one-on-one consulting, hour consulting, I will say, yeah, don't worry, this guy paid for it. The 35 is for a video of your choice, both dedicated to Fred. If you need to cite credit, you could call me John B., but I still prefer Roy. Well, what do I call you? Call me Roy. I know the value you add, so please keep on going. Thanks, John B. All right, so there we are. And then I got a fair amount of originals, and people have been paying me to do originals, which is great because I get to talk about what I want to talk about. But this isn't anything advanced or complicated, but it does apply to the topic, the previous consultation that I just did, where naturally and logically a young man wanted to have a woman in his life. And the paradox and the problem, especially with the internet, women's expectations being warped, a supplantation, a replacing of men with government, family with career and education and all that. It's a hard sell for a family-aiming man to convince a woman to get married and have kids and be committed. It's just not, that's not what women are programmed to want. That's not what women want to have, but men generally still do, and so thus the problem. But the bigger problem is that men's addiction, that's really what it is, because nature programs us that way. Men's addiction to women doesn't go away, and that means as less and less interest on women's part participating with men in life, when that goes down, men come up with more and more drastic, what do I got to do? And so then we see the arms race where a lot of guys, I think that's more of the split, where the majority of guys are just conking out, they're tapping out, they're playing their video games, and they're replacing, women replace men with a government check, men are replacing women with porn or seeking arrangement, get used to it. But then there's also a segment of men that just become these elites, not elitists, elites, your 9s and your 10s, and they kind of got a harem of women. But that creates the dynamic where, well, these guys are spoiled for choice. They got a harem. Why would they marry or commit? And they won't. So the only real guy, like your 7s to 8s, which girls really aren't interested in because they got alpha widowed by the 9 or the 10. So this market is completely mismatched. We are at an impasse. There is no transaction. There's no reason to trade. So it is no matter where you are on the 1 to 10 scale for men. But especially if you're 7, I'd even say 8 or below. If you did want to get married, there are huge search costs. And by huge, go ahead, get my book, The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI of the Pursuit of Women. There I got it down to about $250,000, $265,000, that the average guy will spend on pursuit costs. Cash outlays. That's not prorating time or anything like that. That's not. And then on the expensive end, it could be your entire life. If you marry the wrong person, risks of marriage and divorce, we've all talked about this before. But where I'm talking about where there's a risk is that you have an opportunity cost to time that is simply not going to have a return on it. Investments in pursuits, they're simply not going to yield any results. And what could you have done with that time instead? And there, I think, when you look at opportunity cost, that's kind of, it's not the real price, but it is also the real price at a certain, like, what could you have done with your life had you not wasted all this time futilely, and that's the key issue. If you found a gal, then you won. But if you did, it was futile. So now we have to start developing tactics and techniques that I would argue. Now, a lot of guys say, hit the gym, game, okay, and that's fine. But as an economist, I'm kind of trying to take a more bigger, holistic financial approach. Like, whoa, you got to be real judicious with your time. You really don't want, because you could have had a doctorate, you could have retired early, you could have had a property overseas, you could have had your crypto, you could have retired early, you could have done all this other stuff, but you chased tail, and in a wasteful and stupid, it was wasteful and futile because you did so in a stupid manner. So here's a simple concept I have, and my buddy Chris Beckloff put it on. He's one here, because Beckloff, and I link down to his channel below as well, he loves dogs. And he had a dog, Diabito. That's the name I remember. His name wasn't Diabito, but he suffered from diabetes, so we jokingly called him Diabito, because Chris is a geek and he likes comic book heroes and villains. So Diabito unfortunately passed away. And Chris was rightly upset. Wasn't beside himself, but yeah, he lost his buddy. Chris really likes dogs. And then Loki, that was the dog's name. The dog's name was Loki. We also known as Loki was his mild-mannered Bruce Wayne, unassuming millionaire playboy cover. And then at night, he became Diabito, dog justice fighter for dogs with owners that feed him too much and get diabetes everywhere. So anyway, Loki passed away. Chris was sad. Well, him and his old man get another dog. And jokingly, Chris was like, Loki, get out of here. You could hear the dog. And all the dog wanted to do was hang out with Chris. You hear him whining in the background. But with Loki, and I think the new dog, Chris said, you let the dog choose you. And I had a roommate who down the road got a dog. It was the same thing there. He went to help out with the dog rescue. Had no intention of, but dogs are sneaky this way. Dogs are very clever creatures. They act stupid, but they're really intelligent. So my buddy went down to help out with the dog shelter or something. Well, this dog really liked my buddy and just followed him around. And all of a sudden, my buddy's got a dog. And it works great because you could see the dog and him interact, like very good for each other. Beckloff, he lets the dogs choose him. Very good for each. And I think a lot of people do that. They let the dogs choose them. And I'm thinking that would be a brilliant default kind of basic strategy for you guys when it comes to women. Now, I know there's some drawbacks to the strategy I'm about to suggest, but just hear me out, right? I look back at the several hundred dates I had, and I think maybe 1 in 25, 1 in 30, can I honestly say the girl was happy to be there? We're talking, I don't know, is that less than 30, 20? I'd have to do the math. But going back, it was the exception, not the rule, that the girl was happy to be there. I always felt like I was somehow paying for it, which, yes, you were literally and figuratively, but she didn't really want to be there. I had to entertain her. A lot of that could just be, this is when obviously I was younger, and girls, maybe they were shy, maybe they were uncomfortable, maybe they were nervous. But it was the exception, not the rule, that the girl really enjoyed herself. And on the score of dates I went out where it's like, yeah, I'd like to go out with this girl again. That was the exception, not the rule. But when it was, they were happy. They had asked me questions about myself. They talk. I didn't feel, going way back, I didn't feel bad taking them out, wasting their time, which I should have been like, wait, you're wasting my time if you just wanted a free meal. Right? And those dates obviously went better than the ones where the girl was a lump of wood. And sometimes a lump of wood, you could use a lump of wood for something. You can prop open doors with it. You can hold down papers, be a bit extreme, but ain't no wind blowing off that paper with that log of wood over there. So a log of wood had more value than most of those girls. But if I were to do it all over again, I would have, if there was a way to go out with the girls that want to go out with me, that's what I would have done. I would have skipped out on all the other, whatever that was, 280 odd, 270 women that I went on dates with that just was pulling teeth or not. Because it wasn't fun for them. It wasn't fun for me. I'm kind of curious why they even said yes or agreed to show up in the first place. But that, I think, is also the rule that should apply, like what dogs apply to the women. Let the women choose you. All right? Now, you're immediately running. What? Wait. Hold on. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Cappy, that would require women to ask out men, and that's never going to happen. Yes, I know. And here's where, once again, men will step up when women fail to, even though they... We're equals! Okay. Waiting. Every advice I give to every female client I got, you're going to have to ask out guys. Whoa! Hang on now. I'd make a joke, but it'd be too extreme. So here's where you're going to have to kind of, you can tell. It's rare. It doesn't always happen, but you can tell. And it should just happen naturally. Because before the date, you kind of already knew, like the girl was really into you beforehand. There were very clear signs. And I would say to save yourself the time and the energy, guys, unless like you're, the girls over at, I don't know, Walmart or Target. Well, okay, Target. There aren't any pretty women at Walmart. We know that. You're out and you see a kid, you don't know, there's no rapport. Yeah, go in and talk and ask the girl out. But if you're at whatever, social party, this or that, and you're talking to a girl and you're not almost immediately getting good vibes and the girl is talking and being so, just stop. Don't even do it. In other words, you kind of put yourself out there, see how girls interact with you. And instead of like, I'd like to ask her out because she's cute. Don't worry about that. Okay. The first thing is she interacting with me? Like my buddy went to the dog rescue place and that dog walked right up to him. All right. Now, I'm not comparing women to dogs like that sense, but you go to a social setting, you sit down with a group of people, see what girls are talking to you. You don't even have to talk. You don't have to let's do an example. You go to, I don't know, a jazz club. It's a table of people there. There are 5 good-looking girls at this table. Maybe it's a big table. A lot of people. And you really want to talk to that gal. Well, don't. Just sit there, be quiet, shut up, and observe. Run it like a science experiment. Talk to your buddies. If the girls are talking, whether they're good-looking or not, or you're interested in them or not, they say something, you speak to the point they made. I do think we should go off the gold standard, whatever topic of conversation is being had at that moment in time. But just sit back and wait and see which girl talks to you, which girl makes the move. Because I can almost guarantee what's going to happen, kind of like, participating in an experiment affects the experiment. Let's say 2 of the 5 girls liked you and would have normally talked to you or made some kind of indication, but you talked to the super hot one and like, oh yeah, typical, he'd go after Becky. Oh, I hate Becky. Yeah, all the guys go after Becky. Yeah, because Becky's got some nice old biddies. Becky's got long hair with tig old biddies. She wore heels. Yep. Gonna talk to, no, hear me out. Smarts. Not that one down there, this one up here. You just don't even talk to Becky. And then you see which one makes the move. You see if there's any original and genuine interest. And they're not going to, I'm not talking like they flirt at you and do the love you like Indiana Jones, but just ask you about you. Oh, yeah, I do this thing at this place. Like all my clients do. Isn't it amazing the number of clients I have that do a thing at a place? And who knew to major in things at places? But you just let it happen. See which dog comes to you. See which girl expresses interest in you. Oh, and by the way, if you were wondering, gentlemen, What if no girls show any interest in me? Well, that's statistically going to very likely happen. That will be the majority of instances. But at least there you saved your, let's say, now look at the cost outlay. Let's say there was Becky, all right? You waste your time talking to her, all right? Let's say that's an hour of labor and the stress and trying to be witty and kind of trying hard to come up with something, I got to impress her. What if you just sat there, just listen to the conversation, let it entertain you. And then when Jessica, who doesn't have quite the tig old bitties that Becky does, asked you, where'd you got that shirt? Right? That's a lot, no calorie, maybe, oh, I got it at Walmart. I got it at Goodwill. That's a fraction of the effort. But let's say no one talks to you. Let's say no girl follows you home like Loki did Beckloff. You still spent no energy. You still wasted no time. You still weren't stressed out. You just had a good, pleasant time. And the worst case scenario, in terms of an economic analysis, is through some stroke of luck, or Becky was feeling bad. Becky agreed to the date. Now look. Chances are you're going to get stood up. That's 70% chance right there. All right, industry average, look it up. So you wasted even more time. So now you're incurring opportunity costs. You could have gone out with the guys, could have worked another shift. We're talking hundreds of dollars now of opportunity costs and resources wasted. Worse, let's say Becky goes on a date with you. And in the case of 90% of the time, it doesn't lead to a second date because it wasn't worth it. Well, now you've wasted the money and the time and usually the pain-assery, the unenviable chore that it is to entertain a woman for 3 to 4 hours that isn't into you. Because she's going out with you for reasons that are, I hate to say it's as simple as she wanted a free meal. I mean, how hungry are you girls that you tolerate somebody's company you don't like for 3 to 4 hours because you're going to get a free meal out of it? I always wondered about that. But that's the worst part. Like, at least when you get stood up, like, well, I got the rest of the evening to figure out something else to do. So you get your partial freedom back. But going out with a girl that doesn't really like you, that's like a dog that just isn't going to be potty trained. It's like a dog likes to chew the furniture. It's not a good fit. And you're going to waste a lot more time on something that ain't going to go anywhere anyway. Whereas, let's say you went into that same jazz club and there were the same 5 girls, and there was Becky with her tig old bitties. But then there was Bonnie. There's a boring name. Bonnie. Got her thick glasses. Bonnie's an accountant. Bonnie has her hair all done up. But instead of you looking at Becky's tig old bitties, you start to notice, like, well, behind those glasses, Bonnie's okay. And if she had her hair down, and then you know she's just dressed drabby. She'd get up, go to the bathroom. Oh, I don't have X-ray vision, but I think Bonnie's got a pretty good shape. And then Bonnie comes back, sits down, and then Bonnie asks, oh, Cappy, you know that. I know. But let's just say, and this would be the aberrant behavior that would indicate it. Girls are not going to follow you around like a dog jumping out. You ever see a bunch of puppies? They're all attacking the new potential owner. All right, it's not going to be like that. It'll be something so simple as she asks a question about you, like unsolicited. You're going to ask her about her. You just sat there, you're listening to it, and she says, what do you do for a living? That right there, that's women's version of equality. Well, I practically asked him out. Well, that's about as good as we're ever going to get out of him. And you got to observe that. You can't be distracted by Becky's tig old bitties. Bonnie asked me about myself. Oh, I make pickle jars. Don't know. And then Bonnie got up and left. I'm a systems admin. I'm the IT guy at a small company. I'm an accountant. I'm a truck driver, whatever. And then, well, what do you do for? And then it's natural. It's not like, oh yeah, this girl wants me. And like, oh yeah, what do you? Because you're not there to prove yourself. You're not there to perform. You're there to see what dog wants to go home with you. Now, that doesn't mean you and Bonnie are going to get married. That doesn't mean you're going to be made for each other. It doesn't even guarantee that if you do go on a date, that's going to be fun. But there's a lot better chance that you go out with Bonnie, and instead of her wearing her potato sack she decided to wear to a jazz club for whatever reason. I don't know why Bonnie did that. And she had her hair up. You say, hey, you talk to Bonnie a little bit. And then you say, hey, you conclude then you want to go out with Bonnie. You want to get out of that potato sack. Say, hey, do you want to get cocktails at this fancy place someday? Sure. Well, it's a little pricey, but, a little fancy. Don't say pricey. A little fancy, but, you want to dress up and kind of look fancy. I got kind of a sport jacket I want to wear. I want to feel rich. Let's go to the fancy place. Okay, cool. And then Bonnie shows up. And you're right. She has that nice figure. Doesn't have the tiggle bitties that Becky has, but you weren't going to play with those anyway. And then Bonnie, and then you find out Bonnie, and you go out and you go to dinner. And here's the difference. In the unlikely event you got Becky to show up, Becky would have sat there and which every guy's been there who's done any dating. So like Gen X. I kid. I think 3 millennial men actually went on a date with girls, and I think a Gen Zer did that. I kid. I know at least 5. You got a girl that is much more likely to be interested in you, and she's going to talk to you, and she's not, and it's not going to be pulling teeth. You're not going to be entertaining the girl and dancing like a court jester. And that, again, doesn't mean you're going to be falling in love or you're going to get married or anything like that, but it's a pretty good chance that it's going to go a lot better and you have more fun and less pain-assery, and you're going to have less costs in your pursuit costs. And you're also just picking from a better pool. And it's the simple concept that in order for something to work, both the man and the woman have to like each other. And if you got the girl to like you, that's more or less the larger part. And then it's up to the men over time. Like, well, do I really like this girl enough to stick with her? But that's for another topic. But there you go. So I think a nice, good strategy, save time, effort, money, resources, stress, headache. Just let the girls choose you. Obviously the girls are not going to ask you out. I know that. I know that. But just kind of like, don't bother. Just sit, see what happens. See what girls come across your radar. And if the girl is cute enough, they do that with dogs too. I guess you can have a trial run. I guess, that's like the date. You take the dog home for like a week, see how it works. Go out with Bonnie. See what happens. So there you go. That's the Clary original. All right, do we get any super chats? We got one. Hat and Clogs, 4340, 34, $2. Please keep Cappy away from your dogs, all dogs. I want to miss that dog when I got to go. I'm just going through a lot of comments. That's it. All right. See you guys later. Toodles.